This is Karen again, and that's
This
me.
is May,
And yes, we
and
are
we're
in remote. Yes, and we are from
Boomers to Gen Z.
Boomers and GenZ. Yes, and we are doing it a bit remote because we are both at different parts of the world at the moment. And but we didn't want to miss out our podcast, which we have restarted, and we want to bring in something a little new today. But today we're going to talk about something that I think May experienced a couple
Yes.
of days ago, really intense. It was a life or death situation. So don't go away, stay tuned, and we'll be back. So, May, tell me what happened.
So I was on a flight on the way back from KL to Penang. And for those who know or don't know, depending on where you are, that flight is usually only supposed to take 40 to 50 minutes maximum. This flight took 3 hours instead. The pilot told us we were not able to land. He said we will try again in 10 minutes. So here we are. It's raining so badly. There's already so much turbulence. But turbulence, I guess it's not so bad, right? But it was the sensation when we started like just sort of like free falling and then stopping. And it was like free falling and then stopping. And then the pilot said he'll try again in 10 minutes. We didn't hear from the pilot again for 30 minutes. We noticed that we were still kind of circling. You could still see the city lights.
Okay.
And then the pilot tells us, okay, we're going to try and land in Alosta. That also didn't work out. And then the next thing you know, we're thinking, okay, well, maybe we're just going to do this for a bit. Then the pilot says, well, we could also be running out of fuel.
Oh,
And we're like, okay. And then we realize, like, all of us, like, there's people screaming, there's babies crying. And in my head, I'm like, was the pilot supposed to tell us that?
yeah.
Guys, we can't land the plane right now. And also, we might be running out of fuel.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
So I literally had a like, oh, am I gonna die moment? And it was so I guess it's a bit dark, but I was like, is Malaysia gonna have another plane crash? Because we recently just had one like in Subang where like a small jet actually crashed into a highway.
Oh, okay. Okay, I
Yeah,
didn't know
which was not that long ago. It was actually about two months ago. So it wasn't like a big plane with a lot of passengers, but you know, like from Subang Airport, they have like the smaller planes. I'm not sure what they're used for, like the private ones.
that.
So that crashed into the highway, and I was like, this cannot be happening. And I got onto my phone, and like the airline has this Wi-Fi that you're able to connect to, but of course the Wi-Fi is also not working, and I'm sending everyone like goodbye messages.
Also, you sent messages. Okay.
No, but it didn't go through. So like basically like I think the entertainment because it's a domestic flight, so they don't have the screens. It's too
Yeah.
short a flight, but they have this thing where like you can connect to the in-plane Wi-Fi and it
Right.
opens up to like this web page that has movies and stuff for you to watch. But
Correct.
your WhatsApp doesn't work.
Mm.
So none of my messages got out. But in that moment, I was just really thinking to myself, like, if this is it,
Ooh.
and then what? Like what happens? And I just thought like this would be a great thing to talk about. If you were on the last day of your life, how would you
Mm.
feel about it? Are you satisfied with what you've done so far, or are there things you haven't said to a lot of people?
Yeah, I bet. I mean, can I ask, was it a full flight?
It was a full flight.
Wow. And I mean, you were circulating around Penang area when all this happened?
Yes. Yeah, so we just stayed above Penang. I'm guessing it was Penang. And then later on, when I checked on like, because if you go onto this website called Flight Radar, you can
Mhm.
actually put in the flight details and you can see the route that the
Yeah.
flight took. So
Mhm.
you can see that the plane was, I don't know, drawing some like child's drawing across the map. It was just going back and forth, really.
Yeah.
Um,
So,
but
so
yeah.
I have to probe further. What was the? I mean, it is quite scary, honestly. I mean, this can happen, and this is what they call the turbulence, and why it's super important to have your safety belt on, and not to be going to the toilet at that time, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And because when you have, which is what happened with the Singapore Airlines flight in
Yeah.
Bangkok, yeah, where it suddenly just dropped and somebody
Mm.
you hit your head because
Yeah.
the pressure, you just hit your head and you get concussions and injuries. So were there any casualties?
No, so it was we were all okay. Two people fell over, but nobody sort of like slammed themselves too much. Like we fell, but I think everyone was already buckled in because the turbulence itself was already really bad through the flight. So they were already encouraging us to keep our seatbelts on throughout the whole thing. The weather right now, honestly, Karen, like in Penang, it's really something. Like the wind is it's terrible.
Wow, okay. So
No
um
casualties, no one got hurt. We all got very scared. There was a bond on the plane though. Everyone was checking in with each other. Some
right,
people you could see they were like, it's gonna be okay, like don't
right.
worry. So
Oh,
it's so nice
that's
because
nice.
like in that moment, you
Yeah.
see how like humans who are on a plane, you don't talk to anyone, right?
No,
If you
no,
think about it.
I
But
know.
in that moment of fear, suddenly everyone was like checking in with everyone,
Yeah.
you know.
Oh, that's the thing that we should talk about as well, because we live in a very I don't know if you agree with me, but that we have a lot of division in our society, and that people are very opinionated about certain things, and whether it's your color or your race or how you look and all these kind of things. And it's nice that in this unfortunate incident, right? And then you are able to connect. Actually, you're able to get and put everything aside. That this is, I mean, we are all fundamentally, we are all human with the same wants and needs as everyone else, regardless of
Yeah.
color, religion, and creed, whatever it may be, right? And so tell me, I mean, at that moment, what was your first thought? I mean, I'm sure
My
yeah.
kid. I was just like, oh, Zaki.
Oh my God.
Um, and then sorry, I got really emotional.
Yeah, no, of course.
I got like really emotional and like I realized that like, I was kind of spiraling a little bit. I was crying so much. So actually like the gentleman next to me, him and his wife, they were very, very nice. They're like, are you scared? Like, don't be scared. It's gonna be okay. Like,
Oh, oh
they were
boy.
just telling me
That's
like the worst that could happen is that we'll just land later. But like even like if the pilot says they're running out of fuel, they usually have reserves for like a while.
mm-hmm.
But like I think it's a scary feeling to think that like I think the thing that hit me the most at that point was like I didn't feel like the things that I were leaving behind were
Mm,
ready to be left behind. And then like so like then it makes me think like when I wake up today, like, okay, how do I do better to make sure that the things around me can sustain without me? Like kind of, you
yeah,
know,
yeah.
especially when like you're dependent on
Mm.
it just makes you think like all of the things that you push aside, like okay, like your insurance, you do like the bare minimum, like all of these things. And then even when you book flight tickets, like I'm so cheap to the point that like I always choose the cheaper option. But like they have the three types. And then
Mm.
the last one, the cheapest option doesn't have protection, but then
Yeah.
the other two does. And I was like, oh my goodness, why didn't I take the protection?
It would it wouldn't cover that anyway, but
It's like the small things that were just like I mean I am just so like cheapskate about, but then like in those moments, like that's what you're protecting really, isn't it? Like it was
but
not nice.
don't you think that in that very, very moment, we realize how fragile our life is,
Yeah.
and that
Yeah.
and that regardless of how old you are or how young you are, if the man upstairs decides his time's up, right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that we and the thing is, when you're young, you don't think about it, you don't think of your mortality, no, and you think, well, I got tomorrow, it's okay, I got tomorrow, right? And that's normal, because that's part of being young, and you are vibrant, you're energetic. And certainly at my age now, I think about that a lot.
Really? Okay. And how does that thought process look like when you get to that?
Well, there is that liberation, and I was watching who was this lady? Jodie Foster. You know Jodie Foster, the actress.
No.
Okay. Anyway, she's really acclaimed, smart, in a very accomplished actress. And she said something. I watched her interview, and she was saying that and she's a very intense person, extremely private, very but she wants everything to near perfection in her skill, in her work, in everything. And she says it's something very liberal when you get older, that that wisdom of you're able to let go when you need to, and that ability to, as they say, not sweat the small stuff.
Mm,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah. And I realized I am someone who used to be extremely intense, and really like everything has to be very yeah, control. I feel that I need to control every little element. And you realize you can't control everything, and sometimes things happen. um and it's funny, as I get older, I'm actually less flustered with those changes. Like if suddenly a flight cancel on me and all that, I used to be so upset. I'd be like, oh, you can literally see steam coming out of my ears or something like that. But now I'm able to say, maybe the powers above is saving me from a crash, and therefore I'm delayed for another hour, or maybe I'm supposed to stay here for 1 more hour because somehow I'm going to meet someone who's going to make an impact in my life, or I don't know. I mean, you got to choose that, right? And then you say, okay, that's it. You can't change it, and getting angry is not making it any better. I
Yeah.
mean,
Yeah.
like if you drive around our Malaysian roads, and Malaysians are known to be the worst, most horrible drivers in the world, one of the worst. Okay, so everyone is queuing. Everyone is just queuing. There's a roadblock right in front. Nobody really knows. You're just right behind, right? Like you're stuck behind. You don't know what is happening in front. But you always have some moron who will be honking at the back and going, yeah. Let's face it, as if we want to just stay put stationary,
Yeah. Yeah. I know what you mean.
right? It doesn't help. Even if you honk, it's not going to make
Not
whatever
gonna move. And
move.
it's not as if the traffic is so short. It's like beyond what you can even see if they
Exactly,
start
right?
moving
So
that way.
sometimes you think, what's the point? Even if you honk, besides aggravating everybody's emotion, creating the noise pollution, not helping anyone in particular,
Mm.
um, so why react?
Yeah. Yeah. I guess
So,
that's like a refreshing way to be at ease with like life, the now, what's ahead, taking things sort of like as they come.
mhm,
But I must say, like, yeah, like being at the age I'm at, I don't really like feel that way. Like when something goes wrong, I'm like, why me? Like what happened? It's a very like I'm very like, why me? What did I do wrong? Like,
right,
why does it have to happen to me? It's still
right.
like that.
Uh-huh.
But in those moments, I realized that like I wasn't so scared of like the pain of things, like, oh, it's gonna hurt. Or I wasn't scared of like it was really just the fear of like leaving behind, like the
Yeah,
little boy that would need me
yeah.
kind of thing.
And that
So
that is
that then I want to ask, does it get easier as you get older and the kids get older?
no, no.
No.
Because and every day you're gonna ask, you're gonna always have that feeling of, have I done enough? Especially for the people you love. Have I
Mm,
have I made enough of a difference? I still do. I still question myself, but I think again is the fact that as you get older, maybe you make more conscious efforts to make those effort, that you make sure that you're, whatever it may be, whether it's you want to create an impact for somebody, or to make sure that you have left a legacy to the community or to your family. You want to make make sure that you do it now when you're alive instead of having that moment like you did a couple of days ago to
Yeah.
suddenly, oh my God, have I done enough?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it is I had one of those moments when I went through the tsunami in 2004. So for me,
Where
that
were you?
I was in the midst of the whole water crashing in. My whole family was about to be washed off.
Oh
Uh,
my goodness.
yeah, I was in the midst of it. And at that actual moment, all I could think of was protect my family, get them out of there fast. That was the main first 6 hours. That was all I could think of. I went into superwoman mode, no food, no drinks, just on this adrenaline that was being pumped into my body and just going, I have to save, 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 save. Then when I finally got time to and kind of reflect, that's when I just really cried and I decided, like, then I kind of say, maybe I'm stressing about things that I don't need to stress. When you look at the number of people who died on that day, the people who literally in hours, everything changed for them. Their whole family would have disappeared, never to be seen, never finding closure, because they can't find the bodies. Or, yeah. So I think that was one of those pivotal
Moments.
one for me where I say, well, maybe I can't. But the problem is human nature is human nature. After a while, it gets back because we are always stuck back into that rat race, that oh, I'm too busy, and then suddenly everything starts again. And so yeah, I guess we need those little moments to say, hey, wake up. And
Yeah.
do you think this could be an aha moment for you? Is it, I mean, I know you believe in God and you believe in those what they call whispers. Do you think
Mm,
it was a whisper?
I do. I did make some big decisions after it happened. Like I put a full stop in certain places and then I started to put more attention in certain places.
Mm,
Instead of like stretching myself out in situations that are perhaps wasting my time or not doing justice to situations that are worth more of my time,
mm,
I made a conscious effort to not do that. And I hope it sticks to me so that, yeah, because in that moment, I really like what I thought to myself was like, okay, I need to make sure that I am building, right? In order for me to not be scared of what I've left behind, that the impact was made. But if I am stretching myself in areas that I don't even want to be in when I wake up, then I've wasted that 2 hours of my time in those situations. So how can I spend my time better? I think that was the learning.
yeah. I mean, so don't waste that moment. I think that maybe the universe or God or whatever you believe in is trying to nudge you and say, hey, there's something to be learned from this experience.
I think so. I
Yeah.
think so for sure.
But in that moment, besides Zaki that you talked about, uh, was there anything else that came? Suddenly you saw the light.
No, unfortunately not. Maybe must go again. Maybe if there was 1 more hour, I could have. But
Oh
no,
boy.
it was really just Zach. Like I didn't even text my partner. I only text. But the beautiful thing was actually after. So I sat there first, and I was like, okay, well, I'm not gonna. I don't want to be like in my head. I'm like, maybe don't be dramatic. And then after I sent the message to Zach, we actually started ascending.
Okay.
And like in that and I still remember like what I typed. I said like Baba, like Mama's plane's not doing so good right now. But I'm brave and I'm strong knowing that you're waiting for me at home.
Oh, oh, that makes me. Ah,
um
cool.
So, and then like literally after I sent it, within like 5 minutes, we just started like this. And I was like, oh, you know what? Like when you don't think about it and you just kind of like God's just like, ah, okay, there you go. Like,
Yeah. So yeah, and it's, have you ever, I mean, I'm sure you heard of it about affirmation, and not about positive thinking, but really just asking from the universe and then letting it go.
I
You
do believe in this.
yeah. And it's like maybe you send a message saying, okay, it's not doing you out, but I will see you soon, that kind of thing. And then somehow the universe reacted to it and says, yeah. Well, if you
Mm.
go into that space of, oh my God, I'm gonna die, and it's doom and gloom, and that may actually just attract that to your headspace.
Yeah, no, I actually really do believe in it. I believe that like to trust, to sort of like say what you want and like trust the process. I'm a really big believer of like energies, and like you remember like what you said just now, like about like, oh, if you're put in an airport for 2 hours longer, maybe it's to meet someone, maybe it's to help someone, maybe it's to,
Yeah.
I really
Yeah.
believe in all of these. Like I don't think anything is a coincidence. And even if that sense of belief is not true, I think it's a very healthy belief, because in that moment then you act very positively. And even if you were not going to make an impact, because you thought that way, suddenly you will.
Yeah,
And it
exactly.
feels good.
And it feels good. And besides, the thing is, you can't change the situation. It's beyond your control, right?
Yeah.
So the only thing we can control is our perspective of what we see, correct? So yeah, oh my goodness. So I'm glad you're well and that you're back home.
Yeah.
Does that deter you from flying again?
I mean, I guess I'll check the weather forecast.
Well, talking about weather forecast, I do think this is signs of Mother Nature telling
Throwing a
us,
tantrum.
yeah,
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 it
because
is.
honestly, this year alone, there's so many of these flights having awful turbulence, and it's not the only one, and I'm sure it won't be the only one. And I don't
Yeah.
know when countries and politicians will just wake up and do something about it and just say, just implementing little changes to start the ball rolling, and making sure that we are all educated about this. Because whether it's the disease, there are more dormant diseases that are now resurfacing because of the ice are all melting, and therefore the diseases are resurfacing. And
Mm.
yeah, so I don't think it's a conspiracy theory. I do think
I
the
do
science
think.
has shown that it is going to cause a lot of weather turbulence, weather changes, that kind of thing.
And it's so annoying how people are still so arrogant towards it. Like I still see people like littering when the bin is just like a meter away.
Yeah.
Like
It's
it's this thing of like, oh, I don't want to touch the dustbin because I don't want to get my hands dirty.
yeah.
Like you can wash your hands. That
Yeah.
thing is gonna take forever to like become, to biodegrade or however it.
Yeah, but it is about, truly is about education and re-education, because I do think the younger generation are more aware, but the older generation has been spoiling it. They have been used to spraying water nonstop, and plastic bags. They love their plastic bags.
Yeah. No, I
So
think it's sad that like we're talking about like, oh, it takes something to make us realize, but it's like Mother Nature is really gonna get angrier and really show it to us to really make us realize, and it's
yeah.
gonna hurt. And then when it hurts, like this Mpox thing, like did you see the news that Singapore might go into lockdown?
Yeah. Oh no, I didn't.
You're so far away now. Out of sight, out of mind.
No, I didn't hear that. But Mpox
Yeah.
is not as easily transmittable.
Yeah, but
So,
like they put it out, I think last week, because there was just a growing number of cases.
right.
So it's like,
I don't think any country can take another lockdown.
I don't think so.
No.
I don't think we can take another lockdown.
No, look, I mean, it took a lot of people months and months to get out of that, right? So, yeah. Boy, anyway, so that's it for our podcast for this week. And we please, everybody, just subscribe, have fun with us, type us some questions, let us know what you think, how we can change it up. And most important, all this is just for entertainment purposes only. And until next week, we'll talk soon.